VSAUCE. Vamos ver. VSAUCE. Faz muito tempo que eu não vejo vídeo de VSAUCE, tá maluco?
Hey, VSAUCE, Michael here. At the age
Que saudade.
Hey, VSAUCE, Michael here. At the age of 18, Carl Sagan looked like a teenager. But it doesn't take long in an old high school yearbook to find teenagers who look surprisingly old. These people are all in their 20s, but so are these people. This is Elizabeth Taylor when she was just 17.
Mano,
and
que
here are
isso?
some high school students from the
Por que eles são tão velhos?
70s. Did people used to look older? Brandon McCarthy asked on Twitter, and evidence poured in. People shared photos of their parents in their early 20s, their dad at 21, their mom
18, mano. Que doideira é
at
essa?
18 or 19, their dad at 45. One user shared their husband at 27 and what his father looked like at 23. And there's pretty much an
Mano.
entire subculture around how old footballers looked decades ago. 24, 31, 33,
Como que explica
29,
isso?
27. It's not uncommon to think that there's something more grown up about the way people used to be, to look back and think that people seemed older at a younger age than they do now. Let's call it retrospective aging. It doesn't happen to everyone. People do not and never have aged similarly. And
Okay.
there's even the opposite observation that kids these days grow up too fast. But it's a popular question and subject of numerous memes. So, is it real? Or is it an illusion fueled by cherry-picked examples that feeds rosy nostalgia for a time when
É, pode ser isso, né? Pode ser, tipo, fotos específicas de pessoas que parecem mais velhas. E aí tem várias outras pessoas que não pareciam mais velhas que todo mundo ignora.
people were tough and didn't have it as easy as kids have it
Confirmação, né?
now?
Viés de confirmação.
As it turns out, both. Humans today really are aging more slowly than their historic counterparts. Changes in lifestyle, nutrition, smoking habits, healthcare, early life conditions, and skincare, particularly the use of sunscreen, are a huge part of it. By comparing measures of metabolic, cardiovascular, inflammatory, kidney, liver, and lung function across time, researchers at
Ninguém acredita quando eu falo que eu tenho 15 anos. Doideira, eu acho que eu sou mais velho.
Yale and USC have found that we are in fact staying younger for longer than we used to. So does that mean that 60 is the new 50? Almost. Their results suggest that between the early 90s and the late 2000s, 60 became the new 56. 40 became the new 37 and a half, and 20 became the new 19. Oh, also, during the last century, dentistry and orthodontics have played a huge cosmetic role in the kinds of faces we see in parts of the world. But, interestingly, when faces in magazines are measured from the 1930s to today, the only significant change has been that across all ethnicities, the media is now exposing us to larger lips. Also, retroactive aging can occur over short time spans. When I was a freshman, the seniors in my high school seemed so old to me. But by the time I was a senior myself, I looked in the mirror and at my peers and I was like,
Mano, ele parece... O visual sempre parece muito mais velho do que ele é.
we're them now, but we don't seem as old as they did. What's going on isn't just about bodies. First of all, the seniors I looked at when I was a freshman truly were older than
Isso é muito doido, isso é muito doido. Tipo... Eu vejo... Mano, a sua percepção ela muda automaticamente. E a sua percepção de idade é muito doido. Eu vejo gente de 18 anos hoje... Fico, mano, é um pirralho. É tipo, pô... É uma criança.
me at that time.
E quando eu tinha 15, 18 anos, já era um adulto pra caralho, tá ligado?
They graduated and went away, And later, when I was a senior, I saw myself as I was. But in my mind's eye, I saw the earlier seniors as they appeared to me when I was younger. Retrospective aging seems to also be about perspective. Let's go back to this tweet. This is George Wendt playing Norm on the TV show Cheers. Now, when Cheers premiered, Wendt was indeed 34, but I looked it up, and this image is actually from episode 24 of season 5 when Wendt was 38. So we're not comparing apples to apples here. However, this is an image of George Wendt at 34.
Okay.
And Ashley
Não mudou muita coisa.
Fairbanks made some alterations and a good point. However, here's the rub. These alterations don't make Wendt look more like a 34-year-old. They make him look more like a 34-year-old.
Hoje, né? É o estilo de hoje. Ô, louco, cadê meu...
Today. Similarly, giving the Golden Girls modern-day hairstyles and makeup drops their apparent age a lot.
Caralho, doideira, é isso mesmo.
Superficial styles and mannerisms can often make not just a big difference, but all the difference, which supports the hypothesis that retrospective aging is often...
Tipo, era imaginável que fosse o estilo, mas não achei que o estilo influenciasse tanto assim.
An illusion. Modes of self-expression are always changing. Clothing, hairstyles, accessories, makeup, mannerisms, language, body language. Now, modes can come back, but never exactly. The context is always a little bit different. And from what's available or acceptable at any one time, we each draw ways of appearing or being in the world. And even if you don't care about how you look or think about how you act, what options you even have are dictated by what's currently popular or normal or being pushed on people like you. Few of us stay at the stream, drawing what's new all our lives. For various reasons, we often wander away with our catch. Perhaps it's because we settle into an identity we're comfortable with, or fear the taboo of not dressing our age, or simply run out of time to care. But when we're gone, the stream keeps changing, and we get older and continue to use the mannerisms and styles we grabbed a while back.
Caralho, já é 5 minutos de vídeo, já tô tendo crise existencial, pelo amor de Deus, VSAUCE.
Eventually, to whatever those styles initially evoke, a new connotation is added. Old person. Not because the look or behavior is intrinsically for the elderly, but because those who use it, us, became old ourselves. If you want to look older, what do? Well, you can dress the way older people dress. And the thing is, that's often how they used to dress too. We think people looked older in the past because they look the way old people do today. Dale Irby, a gym teacher at Prestonwood Elementary School in Dallas, Texas, posed for his first yearbook photo in 1973. The following year, he accidentally wore the same outfit again. He says he was embarrassed at first, but his wife Kathy challenged him to do it again. So he did. And he never stopped.
Caralho.
What he gave us is a great, exaggerated example of how what once connoted youth...
Puta que pariu. Deixa eu ficar aqui na direita. Pô, na primeira... Mano, olha, a primeira linha parece que ele envelheceu muito mais do começo ao fim do que nas outras. A terceira linha parece que ele envelheceu pra caralho também. A segunda linha não parece ter envelhecido tanto. Pera aí, eu vou tirar minha câmera pra vocês verem. Na primeira linha ele parece que envelheceu pra caralho. O bigode ajuda muito, né, mano? O bigode envelheceu pra caralho. A segunda, ele parece que não envelheceu quase nada. A terceira envelheceu pra caralho. E a quarta... Nossa, o finalzinho aqui é muito, né? O finalzinho é muito. A pele dele ficou muito... É que talvez... A câmera mudou, né? Um pouco. A pele dele ficou muito mais vermelha.
Comes to be associated with old age. The people we keep seeing a style on get older and older themselves until we think of the style itself as being for old people. Retrospective aging, then, is double-pronged, both real and illusory. People in the past really did age faster than us because of differences in nutrition and lifestyle and medicine, but much, if not most, can be chalked up to the fact that we think people like this are dressed like old people. But that's an anachronism. They're dressed like old people from the future, the old people they would become. Has anyone ever dressed like a young person from the future? Well, it happened in 1941 at the reopening of the South Fork Bridge.
Alguém que se vestiu com um estilo que parece que é de hoje. Interessante.
Canada. A crowd came out to celebrate and photos were taken. In 2010, the photos were digitized and placed online. That's when this guy was noticed.
Não, o John Titor, nem fudendo.
A time
O John Titor!
traveling hipster. Why a time traveler wouldn't bother to blend in, and why, with all of history to visit, he chose the reopening of a bridge in the 40s, no one knew. The photo was confirmed to be undoctored, and researchers put forward the idea that this man was not, in fact, a time traveler, that his shirt wasn't an ironic screen print, but simply bore the logo of the Montreal Maroons, a nearby hockey team at the time. They said his sunglasses and knit sweater were not unusual for the 40s, nor was his portable camera. The only thing that was unusual about him was how casual his attire was. And they're probably right. But this all raises the exciting possibility that someone out there right now, possibly even you, is unknowingly dressed like...
Ele não vai mencionar o John Titor, não acredito. É claramente o John Titor. John Titor. Olha lá, ó. John Titor, é ele, pô.
people in the future will. And your appearance in photos will someday freak them out. You know, it might be fun to start dressing even more casually or in some other odd way on the off chance that you happen to nail it, and years from now you are worshipped as a time traveler. Whoa!
Susto.
Who's that guy?
Você já sonhou com esse homem?
Does he look like a Bill, a Mark, a Justin, or a Josh? Pause right now if you'd like to think about it.
Ele parece um... Tem cara de Justin. Eu daria um Justin pra ele.
According to research from Millsaps College and Miami University, this is Mark.
Não acredito.
Or at least, this is what we think people named Mark look like. By asking people to make and rate digitally created faces, researchers were able to put together prototypical faces for a number of different names. This is apparently what we think a...
Esse aí é... Dylan.
Josh
Pode ser um Josh.
looks like. A Bill, a Justin, a Dan, a Brian, a Tom, an Andy.
Pô, eu acho que isso é muito acho que é muito regional. No Brasil a gente não pensa em pessoas assim, então é muito diferente. Mas acho que se a gente fosse fazer uma pesquisa tipo um Pedro, um João, a gente ia ter uma parada parecida.
The idea that names might conjure certain face shapes in our minds isn't that strange. For example, there's Wolfgang Kohler's famous finding that when asked which of these shapes is named Booba and which is named Kiki, people...
Esse eu tô ligado. O Kiki é o da esquerda e o Buba é o da direita por causa do som, né? Kiki é tipo um bagulho mais sharp, mais agressivo e parece um bagulho mais gosminha.
of all different ages and cultures and languages overwhelmingly assign Kiki to the spiky one and Booba to the blobby one. And sure enough, it certainly seems to work with names too. Which one of these men is Tim and which is Bob? Well, almost unanimously people...
Pô, eu pensei no Tim the Tatman, que o cara da direita parece.
People feel like this is Tim and this is Bob. But are these men actually named Tim and Bob? Well, there's the rub. Just because we associate certain names, certain sounds, with certain shapes, doesn't mean we're right. There's no such thing as a biological name. If a person still goes by the same name they were given as a baby, long before anyone knew what they would look like as an adult, well, surely there won't be a connection. But as it turns out, there is. Believe it or not, in a multiple choice setting, people can guess a stranger's name just by looking at their face. More often than we would expect from luck alone. It's called the face name matching effect. Here's a stimulus from Zwerner's research. Do you think this man is named Jacob, Dan, Joseph, or Nathaniel?
Jacob.
By just randomly picking a name,
eu vou dar Jacob.
25% of the time. But Zwerner found that people picked the correct answer, Dan, nearly 40% of the time.
Não acredito.
What's going on? Can names actually cause us to grow to look a certain way? Well, apparently they can. It has been called a Dorian Gray effect. In Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, a portrait of the protagonist ages and grotesquely reflects his evil deeds while he himself remains young and pure-looking. In a similar way, it seems that in some cases, our own...
Chat, eu tenho cara de quê?
appearance can come to reflect the name we were given. But I kind of think it's really more of a reverse Dorian Gray effect. I mean, in the book, Dorian's reality affects the appearance of his portrait, but the face name matching effect goes the other way. A inanimate sign, a name, influences our actual physical appearance. Well, anyway, it's not news that a person's name can lead others to have certain expectations of them and treat them accordingly. It's been found, for example, that multiracial faces given European names are rated as looking more European than the same faces are when presented with non-European names. The expectations a name carries with it may create a self-fulfilling prophecy, whereby as a person grows up,
Meu nome é Cellbit.
they're motivated to fulfill those expectations, carry themselves in ways people think someone with their name should, and even like, dislike, accentuate, hide, use, and avoid different parts of their face and body depending on whether or not those parts match their name. It's been found that faces and names that match are emotionally liked more than faces and names that don't. Analysis of voting data has shown that senatorial candidates earn 10% more votes when their names fit their faces very well than when they fit very poorly. Now, with that in mind, part of the effect could literally come from the fact that although parents don't know what their kid will look like as an adult, the parents do know what they look like, and without knowing it, tend to prefer names that match their faces, which are likely to resemble their child's face as well. But not always. If the dissonance is too great, a person can always change their name, either completely or by simply choosing a nickname. If I had been just a little bit different, I, Michael, could have always gone by Mike. The fact that people can adjust their names to fit them, of course, merely strengthens the face name matching effect. By studying whether the correct name could be guessed when different
Que porra de imagem é?
parts of a face were occluded, researchers were able to develop heat maps showing which parts of the face different names are most characteristically associated with. Apparently, looking like an Anne is all about the tip of the nose. It's the bridge of the nose for Arthur's and the philtrum or snot trough for Benjamin's. Aurelies are recognized by their face spiders. Let's go back to old people. How old is an old person? 73.7. That's according to results published in the Journal of American Geriatrics last year.
Pô, se me perguntassem, hoje eu diria que uma pessoa com 60 anos é uma pessoa velha.
the average age people gave when asked, when does old age begin? People under 65 on average said 71, and people over 65 on average said 77. Women said old age...
Todo mundo vai sempre falar mais velho. Quanto mais velho você fica, mais velho é velho pra você, né? Você nunca quer ser velho.
Began 3 years later than men did. White people said it began 8 years later than non-whites did, and people who felt healthy placed old age later in life than those who felt less healthy. But how old do people want to be? Well, that...
Gente, por caralho, Michael Stevens, Nossa, achei que ia ser um vídeo super... Vamos lá, que diversão, que alegria.
Depends on how old they already are. In America, the only people who are the age they would like to be are 21-year-olds. People younger than 21 wish they were older, and people older than 21 wish they were younger. People who are 40 wish they were 30.
Pô, desde os meus 20 eu tô de boa com a minha idade. Acho que a partir dos 30 você começa a ter crise.
People who are 60 wish they were 40, and people who are 90...
Mas se me jogassem ali pros 21 também não reclamava.
60. When people are asked if they could be one age forever, the average American picks 36, which is actually how old I am right now, funny enough. Here's something else that's funny. Old people are more likely to think they dream in black and white. Not because it's part of the aging process,
Porque eles assistiam TV.
because they are veterans of the great black and white dream epidemic of the 20th century. Prior to the 1900s, Aristotle, Descartes, Freud, everyone who wrote about the topic reported that dreams contained color. But as humanity moved into the 20th century, the number of people reporting color in their dreams dropped just as quickly as the popularity of new black and white movies and TV rose. By the 60s, as color TV and movies became more and more common, reports of colored dreams started going back up. And today, people who grew up with black and white TV continue to report more black and white dreams than those who didn't.
Pô, eu não lembro de um sonho que eu sonhei que era preto e branco.
And later studies across China found the same thing. The frequency of black and white dreaming correlated strongly with how common black and white TV was in a person's area. So, did black and white movies and TV literally change our dreams? Well, first of all, it's not clear whether dreams themselves actually changed or if people just started thinking differently about their dreams. We're trying, but we still haven't found a way to get direct access to dream content. Eric Switchable has pointed out that as far as we know, dreams may not be in color or black and white, or sepia or anything. They may be primarily indeterminate in color as they happen, and only later, during recall, do we confabulate details about color. He compares dreaming to reading. Is a novel in color or black and white? As you read a story, what do you see in your mind? It might be the case that
Eu sempre vi colorido.
vaporous as they are something we simply have a terrible grip on, and that movies and TV shows have given us the illusion of understanding them. In fact, Switchable has speculated that smells and touch sensations are rare in dreams today, but future people with smelly, touchy-feely VR shows might think that they dream with lots of textures and odors and find it strange, maybe even frightening, that few of us seem to. But
Caralho, já
why
pensou?
would we think that dreams were like moving pictures and not normal waking life? Well, no one knows. It might be that motion pictures are just simply the closest thing we have to dreaming that isn't dreaming. Unlike
A legenda desistiu.
still images, paintings, photographs, tapestries, motion pictures and
Caralho, essa palavra é grande em inglês, né?
dreams can contain movement and narrative and cause and effect. And unlike stage plays or real life, motion pictures and dreams are not made of anything that is even remotely similar to what they depict. They're both made of phantoms. Images are uncanny things. A person in an image is frozen in time but yet can seem to grow old. Our own image can depend on what we are called, and they're the closest thing we have to what our mind does when we're away. Do you get the picture? Or does the picture get you? And as always, thanks for watching.
Por que você fez isso comigo? Que horror. Por que você fez isso comigo, Mike? Pô. Nem pra me tirar da crise existencial. O cara simplesmente me jogou no precipício e me largou, velho. Muito bom, né? VSAUCE é sempre bom. Não importa quanto tempo passe, entendeu? Entendeu? Entendeu aí o que eu fiz?